Welcome to Dr. TSPR. So this is Dr. Tangella Shiva Prasad Reddy alias Dr. TSPR. Namaste, Adab, hello, and a warm welcome to all. An important day as I have my Guru back, Professor Purushottam Reddy Garu. Sir, Namaskaram. Guru Tulyulu, B.V. Subbarao Garu, Namaskaram. And we have been ably joined by Murali, Mr. Murali from Massachusetts, Boston, USA. Sir, welcome. An important topic, International Day to celebrate democracy. But are we doing it? What is democracy? Is it just people fighting for their rights, nook and corner? Or they should be enjoying their rights in such a way it defines their life in symbiosis with nature. Let us hear from the experts today. Over to you, Subbarao garu. And we are hosting this program on behalf of Hyderabad Democracy Forum. Sir, Subbarao garu, please.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Shiva Prasad garu. And I welcome Professor Purushottam Reddy and my good friend శ్రీ మురళి సార్. మీ పేరు ఎప్పుడు కూడా పూర్తిగా నేను మురళి అంటున్నాను, ఏదో బొడ్డు కోసి పేరు పెట్టినట్టుగా క్షమించాలి. మీ పూర్తి పేరు
మురళీకృష్ణ చెముటూరి.
మురళీకృష్ణ గారు. he joined from USA and today is International Day for Democracy. Democracy is being challenged today, not only in India, but also it's undergoing slowly metamorphic changes in the rest of the world. And many places still we observe struggles to bring back the democracy. And it's very important for all of us, concerned citizens, not only come together, identify the issues where we are observing these gaps, lacunae in the system, and what is that we suggest to the present generation and to the coming generations, young generations, that what is all about a healthy democracy. When we talk of democracy, the first principle is agreed, to disagree. We may have a lot of, different opinions, but in the larger interest of the society, country, and the Mother Earth, what are the sacrifices we have? These are larger challenges. And, in the process, let us, identify, discuss. And I invite our honorable guest, Murali Krishna Garu, from Boston. Sir, we would like to hear your, perspectives and perspectives on democracy. Please, sir, floor is yours.
Sir, unmute చేసుకోండి సార్.
Sir, unmute your mic.
Sir, kindly unmute, sir. Kindly unmute your mic. This should become green,
unmute
sir.
Your mic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I unmuted. Can you please allow me to share my screen, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now you are presenter.
Yes, sir. Sir, good afternoon to all of you. Dr. Shiva Prasad Reddy Garu, Dr. Subbarao Garu, Dr. Shiva Prasad Reddy Garu, and all the audience that are viewing this presentation. Democracy has started with the Magna Carta and King John of England in the 13th century. And from that time onwards, the power has shifted from the monarchs. That was the first time the power shifted from the monarch to a set of people. While the first set of people were mainly the lords in the court of the king, slowly it percolated downwards, and the people also could get some power. Democracy is a form of governance. How do we govern? The original governance was from the kings, emperors, and monarchs. But now the democracy itself is, it's a paradox. There are many paradoxes. Is democracy, what is democracy, and what is governance? And governance began with the kings, and the slowly power shifted to the people. But there are many varieties of flavors of democracy. The British flavor of democracy, that was the original. The king is still there. The monarch is just changing right now. And the power is with the parliament and the people. The king is just a figurehead of the representative of the country and of the government, head of the government, just only in namesake. The prime minister wields the power, which we Indians have adopted and made our own changes. The king is replaced by the president of India, and the prime minister, others remain. And there are Russia and China. What are these countries? Cuba. There are many countries in this flavor, which there is a head of the state who gets elected by a limited set of people, for whom the leader wields enormous power. China, there is only Communist Party, and Communist Party claims there is a democracy because they are elected by the people. There's representatives in every village and town, and they all together elect the general secretary who becomes the king. Similarly in Russia, similarly in Cuba, similarly in many countries where it's a limited form of democracy and a limited form of dictatorship. America, France, and England, and Germany, these countries are the leaders of the democracy, and each has its own flavor. The French has the longest term for the leader at 7 years, and Britain, Germany and America have 4 years, and Britain has 5 years. Democracy, as you see from this presentation, it is derived from Greek words demos, meaning people, and krata, meaning power over the people. And Abraham Lincoln defined it in a succinct manner by saying it is the government of the people, for the people, by the people. Now, is that there is the government is of the people? There are only limited set of people in America whom they claim as a great democratic nation. There are only two parties, Democrats and Republicans. You have to be the leader of either of these two. And to become the leader of that, there is some democracy in the party. To get a nomination for the presidency, somebody has to fight, and that fighting will be with about 5 to 6 people. Contestants will be there. There will be debates, public questions, public scrutinies. And after that, two candidates emerge, and the people can only vote those two. They cannot vote anybody else. In Britain also, basically it was 3-party, but now only 2 parties, Conservatives and Labour. The Liberal Party more or less became invisible. Russia, of course, only 1 party. China, only 1 party. India, multiple parties. India is the truest form of democracy, in that you can start a party tomorrow. Any number of parties. The number of parties in India are unmatched by any other party. But then, if there is a coalition, we have seen coalition governments between parties, and it is a real thing that is to be seen and experienced, and we have suffered that. It's not experience, it is sufferance. Now, the democracy and republic. In India, we have, in our preamble, we defined our country as a democratic republic. It can be either a democracy and a republic. Democracy is only in the form of the republic is not really this one. Are we a republic or a democracy? We are not sure. And then there are three aspects to the government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. These three are the limbs of the government, and they are supposed to be independent of each other. But in British and Indian democracy forms, the executive is also part of the legislature. The ministers, the cabinet, they are part of the legislature. They lead the legislature. In this sense, the executive has taken over the legislature. The executive and the legislature are divorced in America, whereby the president and his cabinet secretaries do not come into the Senate or the Congress, their form of parliament. They legislate separately, and these people execute what they legislate. Even the budget, the government has to submit to the legislature, and only after the approval of the legislature they can spend it. Otherwise, they cannot. So they're different, and judiciary is completely independent. Now, the judiciary in India is controlled by the law department. That means the law secretary wields power over the Chief Justice of India, Supreme Court of India. So all three are directly under the executive. The Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Ministers, they hold all the reins in their hands, either the judiciary or the legislature. And the legislature is so toothless, they do not do anything about except shouting in the parliament or the assemblies. They do not form legislature committees and conduct inquiries on their own. In India as well as in America, the legislature has power to summon anybody to the assembly and the parliament floor and question them on what is happening on that, bringing transparency. Now, in India, this legislature only votes what the leader says, except that nobody discusses anything, nobody questions anything. And then the franchise in India and the franchise in America, franchise is irresponsibly given to individuals in India, and it is misused. The franchise in America is a privilege. You will have to register for it. Even if you are a born American citizen, you will have to register to vote. And after registering, we will have to. And in one way, the voting in India is better because you have to show an ID. In America, you don't have to show an ID. If the name is registered, that is good enough. They don't insist on ID. They are also demanding that ID must be made mandatory for voting in the elections. And then the judiciary is also a little bit confused. They do not see their role as deciding and adjudicating on cases and delivering a judgment. They go beyond that. For example, the Ram Mandir case itself has taken from 1949 to 2017 or 18. That many years a case cannot run. And the cases could take any amount of time. I was involved in litigation in India. In a trial court, it is a simple case. It took 4 years. And I have seen people in the courts coming to the courts for 18 years, 16 years, 15 years, like that. In America, the courts, I have also attended court as an expert for testimony in a court as a computer expert. And the case is decided in 1 day. 1 day, that's all. The advocates are told how much time you need, how many witnesses you are presenting. And the opposition party advocate is also how much time you need for cross-examination. The case I attended involved a class action suit against a large insurance company, and I testified as a technical computer expert. And there were 3 witnesses from our side, 3 witnesses, half an hour over. And the cross-examination for the first 2 witnesses, it was done in 5 minutes. For me, they took about 45 minutes as an expert. 45 to 50 minutes I was taken. After that, they rested the cases, both the cases. And by the afternoon, the prosecution or the person who filed the suit is over. And in the afternoon, the defense attorney said, we have no more witnesses, no case. They rested the case. In 2 days, the judgment came. Now, I cannot imagine this in India. If you go to a court, there are 100 to 150 cases, out of which 5 or 6 are tried a day. If you go to High Court, I went to High Court also. In High Court, in a day, for a judge, 300 cases are listed. 300 cases in 300 minutes. The court hardly sits for 5 hours. 5 into 60, 300 minutes. 300 minutes, 300 cases. 1 minute per case in High Court. And of course, they don't go beyond 100, 120. Supposing they take up 100 cases, which is very good, 3 minutes per case. In 3 minutes, what can be argued? What can be told to the judge? And the judge will not read the papers at all. So the judiciary is something that is a strong pillar of democracy, and it is very weak in India. This has to be corrected. Then there is a law enforcement machinery. The law enforcement machinery, the less said, the better. Unfortunately, the law enforcement machinery is absolutely broken down. It is not an law enforcement machinery. It is just a tool in the hands of the present government and the bosses. Unfortunately, we will have to correct it. How do we correct it? They started police reformation some time back. Dharamveer committee, God knows what happened to the recommendations of that committee. Unless these two are corrected, then we cannot correct the democracy. And the third pillar or the fourth estate, the journalists, the journalism. The journalism also has gone too partisan. The papers, the newspapers and the TV channels, the radio has become irrelevant in these days. So only those two what are available is TV and newspaper. They are completely aligned with a personality or a party, and they don't see anything good in the other party, and they don't see any bad in their own party. Misinformation is being liberally spread without any consequences, and there is absolutely no oversight. The press council, God knows what press council does. They don't supervise this. They don't ensure uniformity and neutrality of the journalists, and it goes on. And then there is a misconception in our minds: equality. What is equality? Everybody is equal. Everybody is not equal. Purushottam Reddy Saab is a professor. He is a PhD. I am not a PhD. I am just an MBA. So there is a difference. People say mental capacities are different. Physical capacities are different. Their jobs are different. Their roles are different. What is equality? Equality can be defined only three ways. Before law, everybody is equal. Whoever breaks the law gets the same punishment. Douglas MacGregor's hot stove theory has to be applied. Whoever touches the hot stove gets burnt, and the burn is proportional to the amount of touch. Whether it is a child or a old man, the stove doesn't spare. And the burn is immediate. If it touches today, the burn will not be tomorrow. In law, if somebody breaks a law, the punishment or the whatever retribution comes should be immediate. Yes. It's not so that equality before law is not there. Some people, there are certain exceptions in the rules, like, quashing criminal petitions. It applies only to influential people. All others will be refused, quashing. So many laws are there which only favor certain people. It is a discretion. The moment there is a discretion in law, it will be applied selectively. That selective application is there. Then second, equality of opportunity. Is there equality of opportunity in our country? There are reservations. When there are reservations, how can there be equality? If somebody is not fit enough for that, giving reservation and filling that position is not equality. You are damaging an entire generation. When I was young, when I was studying in school, one person came by reservation, one teacher, and whatever that class was given to that teacher, he made a mess of it. He never taught anything. He never knew anything. What can he teach? All think initially the reservation that Dr. Ambedkar set in was other things being equal, preference will be given to the reserved candidate. If two people are rated the same, then the reserved candidate be given. Then that other things being equal is removed. You will have to fill so many posts with the reserved candidate. That is all. When I worked in my companies, also I found that these people they were simply not doing anything. A reserved candidate was there. We imported a lot of material and then plant. And this guy, he has to increase the voltage slowly, steadily. He with one turn, he increased the voltage from 0 to 220 volts, and all the entire circuit burnt out. And the project was offset by 1 year, because to procure the same material from America, it takes 6 months. In those days, import controls were there, foreign exchange regulation was there. It was not easy. So the opportunity, equality of opportunity, it has come in the newspapers. In the medical entrance, the number one candidate who scored the top rank, he was not allowed to select the field of his choice, because that was reserved for somebody else. If the number one candidate could not get the seat as faculty of his choice, what do we speak of equality of opportunity? Equality of opportunity is absent in India. And social treatment, this is the only thing people are worried about. In temples, why only Brahmin should be there? Why not a scheduled caste person? That is the only people were worried, and that is where we are not able to really implement equality. The other two there. And then the process of governance is still colonial in India. The British rules and British process still exists. The officers and the people do not go out of their cabins or the offices and go into the people and work. Only the politicians go. The officers and the executive, they never go. They depend on paper. Somebody produces a paper. Somebody inspects and gives. Whether the road is laid or not, nobody cares. There is a contractor's bill, and then there is a inspector's certification that the road is laid and up to the quality, and it is passed through some more channels and payments are made. So the process of governance also we will have to improve quite a bit. In America, etc., I have seen here, nothing happens like that. The process is very, very strict, and it happens. People come and inspect. It just does not happen without anything. That kind of paper certification and dependence on paper is not there. It really is there, but then the paper is honest. In inspection, house inspection, simple. I'm sure every one of you has gone through this. You build a house and then give a certificate to the municipality that your house is built, and they doesn't move out of the door, and they give you a tax receipt and a house number. In America, believe me, the inspector comes and he inspects every nook and corner of the building. The electrical inspector comes, he checks every socket. He puts a bulb and does it. If a socket does not function, he will tell, he will give a report, this socket is not functioning. Rectify that socket and come back to me. Every electrical inspection, plumbing inspection, sanitary inspection, every inspection is done. Roof inspection, insulation here, because cold is there, every wall is insulated so that the outside cold will not enter the house. That will also be inspected. That happens. And law and order, you call the police here, in 5 minutes they are there. 5 minutes. Not more than that. I have seen that. 10 minutes maximum. And they will be there and they will take care. And the police are also not like Indian police. They investigate and give right judgment done and there itself. Now, if we have to strengthen democracy, what we have to strengthen? First and foremost, the voters. If the voters vote irresponsibly, carelessly, they can't get a better government. They can't get better people. If they do not insist that this has to be done, they will not. And the governmental processes, most of the educated people do not vote at all. They simply take it as a holiday and go on a picnic, or they will not go and stand in a queue. They don't see that this is the right. I can choose the government. I can influence the government. One vote, what one vote does one vote. One count. You at least encourage the loser. If there is an honest man contesting, encourage him by giving him one vote. in one election in my constituency when I was residing in Ramakrishnapuram, an honest man, Dr. Mr. Surnaran Reddy contested. He worked as a chairman earlier and he did lot of good work. He had lot of good name in the Malkajgiri constituency. He did not get a party ticket. He contested as an independent. And he lost by heavily. He just could get 5,000 votes. Nothing, not more than that. He almost cried with me, saying that Murali Krishna, I have done so much for this village, Malkajgiri, and I get 5,000. The others too are unknown people. Just because they have party flags, they got the victory. And this party affiliation in people, the politicians have divided the society into party affiliations. They're steadfast party. They don't care about the candidate. They don't care about the performance of the party. They vote only by that. And of course, motivations are also there. The water education cannot stop. It has to continue. The governmental processes, we will have to raise our voice and continue to put our voices on the people and raise it. How do we raise it? The newspapers, they ask you money if they want to print your views. Only they print in the something that drainage water is overflowing, they put my name and put it. But if we have to really raise the voice, they don't give space. The TV channels.
You have 5 minutes more.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay.
Because we will go for discussion. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
And infrastructure, the infrastructure to implement the processes, that also we need to improve. We'll have to raise the voice. So one forum that I suggest that we have to post is the social media is one, and the YouTube and TikTok are the other media. TikTok is banned in India, but it is there in other countries. But YouTube, at least we should make videos and post our views. This is this. Unfortunately, most of the people are not using this useful media to make videos and post it. I am using it to post philosophical content, but this content we have to start it. Then justice, law and order, the courts and the court process and the discretionary powers, these have to be removed. And legislature oversight of the executive, this we have to strengthen. Legislature have to form committees, question the officers, question the politicians, and then decide things. And then the constitution itself needs to be overhauled. It has to be rewritten. In America, they did some 15, 16 amendments. That is all. This is a 200-year-old constitution, only these many amendments. And ours is just 70 years old. We made more than 45. And thanks to Morarji Desai, who said that no more amendments, by making another amendment. So, with this, I rest my case and leave the floor to others. There are many things that we can talk, keep on talking, keep on saying, but then there is no limit. As you said, there is a time limit. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Subbarao. Thank you, Purushottam Reddy garu, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Your views are highly appreciated, and particularly the need for voter education is a serious issue in this country. As the literacy is progressing, democracy is coming down in this country, and voting from the literate people is dropping heavily. You don't find good percentage of voting in the metropolitan cities. That is very sad part. So we need to look into it, how, and as we hear progressively from other speakers, we'll come back and have an open debate on these issues which you propose to strengthen the democracy. Thank you and namaskaram. And now I invite Professor Sanjay Asthana. Welcome back, sir. So hope you have settled good and had a comfortable journey back. Okay.
Yes.
So, and I also request you, stay for at least 15 to 20 minutes after your talk, because we have a audio recorded message from Chicago, another senior most personality from Chicago Citizen Advocacy Center. Okay. So thank you, and I invite Professor Asthana, and the floor is yours, sir. You have 15 minutes time, and I will just give a remind you before 3 minutes. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening. Good morning, though. Good evening there. Morning here in the US. I really appreciate the opportunity. I won't take 15 minutes. I'll be wrap up in about 10 minutes. Professor Purushottam Reddy Garu, Dr. Siva Prasad Reddy Garu, Murli Chematuri Garu, and Subbarao Garu. I think we are the panelists here, and I'm not sure how many are tuned in, but I'd like to take this opportunity to the International Day of Democracy. United Nations in 2007 had proposed it, and here in the US, I have read the questions, the prompts that we had at the beginning. Sorry, I'm still recovering from the jet lag. It's around 7 a.m. here in Tennessee, US Tennessee. Now, the question about democracy, to me at least, because I teach classes in philosophy and political theory and particularly media, what I have not heard others, but particularly I was able to listen to and Chematuri Garu's presentation there. I completely agree with his take on the way in which the situation in India. But I think democracy worldwide, particularly the liberal idea of democracy, is under assault. Meaning, we have all seen that for the last 5-10 years now. In the US itself, the rule of law, which is something that we talk about in the US, but there has been encroachment on the democratic forms of governance here. So what I would do today is to just give you an idea as to how India, particularly my 6-7 months in India on a Fulbright research grant. This was beginning February, end of February to September. My reading of the situation is that on the one hand, it's a global problem for democracy, liberal democracy particularly. Especially, I think the corporate intrusion in democratic forms of governance has had a bad deleterious effect, particularly in the way in which young people, particularly young people, because I'm more focused on young people, how they begin to really think and develop ideas about democracy, about governance. So what we have today is, on the one hand, the corporate control of the fourth estate. Also, the media itself is now seen as a corporate entity. There is a lack of a public media in India. In the US, at least, we have public broadcasting, public television, public radio, national public radio, where you have voices that you hear. I hear voices from independent individuals like you. For instance, you are here at the TSPR channel. In the US, we will hear from you, your perspectives, because there is an outlet there. Particularly the public broadcasting system provides the channels for people to really come and talk. The mainstream media, like everywhere else, the mainstream television network here is dominated by corporate entities. People who have business in real estate, people have business in the IT sector. All of them, are involved in media, controlling the media. So there is a problem here. Noam Chomsky and the political economy of media research, they have pointed out to the fact that news no longer is entertainment. It is information is converted into entertainment, infotainment. So what you get is a highly sort of a privatized, and news itself is seen as something that developed, and sort of news as a way in which only a select few would have access, and the real genuine issues of public are not really presented and debated. And at least in the US, I see that there is an opening there, that public media is there, and Europe also has a good public media. India does not have a public broadcasting network, especially, we talk about Doordarshan and the Prasar Bharati Corporation with the great senator, the MP from India, Jaypal Reddy Garu. He had, was one of the key players in, pushing for the Prasar Bharati Corporation. But later debates, really never really materialized, and we never had a public broadcasting network in India. We have the television channels, which are highly privatized, corporate control, and caste-based. And, you see in Andhra Pradesh, you see in Telangana, you see in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, you see in other states, which, I think others have spoken about. So my thing is that how do you really reinvigorate democracy? Where do we find that? We talked about the legislature, the judiciary, the executive in India, and the issues are there. I've seen that, the sedition laws and other kinds of things that were, pushed through without any debate in the parliament. There is no debate literally in Indian, at least in the US, they have a debate. There is just a bill that passed, climate change bill. All parties had access to it. Everybody was debating. Everybody was talking about it in the US Congress. In India, we had big issues that they dealt, like farmers' issue and other kinds of issues that really never went to the parliament. The parliament really doesn't function the way it should function. Public issues have to be brought to the forefront. And so there is a lack there. And also, I think how do you cultivate the ethos of democracy? And I'm speaking here from the perspective of young people. And I always talk about young people because those are the future generations. Children who go to school today in kindergarten, in middle school, should, at the school level itself, you need to inculcate the sensibility of democratic forms of, resolution of issues, democratic approach. You have, the way in which you can build that into the curriculum, along with sustainable development, along with climate issues, environmental issues. I think that is the place where we could really bring about change. And that is the place where we could inculcate a new sensibility. The other thing I would like to mention, and I know that I'm just being a little bit of a scattered here in my thoughts. The other thing I would like to mention is about the media itself. It's not the social media. I teach a class called Digital Media Literacies for my master's students here in the US. And we begin with the idea that, social media, it is neither social nor it is media. The Facebook, the Twitter, the Snapchat, the Reddit, the TikToks, the whole range of apps and other kinds of, messaging networks that we have, from Twitters to the highly corporate control, is not really, we just can't call that media. It is social networking sites which are developed to get people's likes. The algorithms are developed where they will look at your, what you're clicking on, what you're looking at, and it's actually building, harvesting your data. So the whole problem of social media, when we say social media, is a kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it offers opportunities, for instance, for us here to speak through a YouTube channel, through a channel that, Dr. Siva Prasad Garu has opened up here, But if we could reach a larger audience through YouTube and other networks, particularly in the context of, schools, where we can bring the debate out into the public forum, and I know that we are working on the ground. When I was in India, I was going to the bastis, I was talking to the people because I was exploring environment, examining environment. I knew that you couldn't go to just those, big private institutions and talk about environment. You have to really visit the places where people are affected. People are going through that. The lower working class, the lower poorer people, poorer sections of the population. So I think the democratic ethos cannot come from the top. Like we talk about the Greek Athenian democracy, we talk about other forms of democracy. I was reading the other day in preparation for this brief presentation here, John Keynes' The Life and Death of Democracy. It's a fascinating book by a political theorist. I shared that with Professor Reddy Garu, Purushottam Reddy Garu. And also I was reading Filipino writer, Senator Raul Manglapas, who wrote about the will of the people. The will of the people. Those are the books that talk about how democracies in non-Western societies, particularly India, Philippines, Africa, other parts of the world, thousands of years old, the way in which they conceptualize, develop the debate and the forum, public forums and all of that. So I think on the one hand, we need to really critique the liberal forms of governance and democracy because it is actually encroached by the private sector, corporate control. In the name of globalization, you see there's a lot of studies in the media, studies in communication, studies in philosophy of media that have pointed out, Noam Chomsky and many others have written about it. And the other is that we have to really look at the political establishment, the way in which, in India itself, as others have rightly pointed out, political parties don't adhere to democratic principles. And there is an issue there because, now with the encroaching privatization and the rapid urbanization of Indian cities, we are losing the control to private sector and to corporate control. And that actually is more dangerous than in the West and Europe, because in India it comes up with certain kinds of feudalistic elements, certain kinds of other elements which are mostly detrimental to a democratic form of governance. The rise of authoritarianism in the world is one signal that we are entering a phase. People say that. I have read about some other commentaries here that it is going to be the next 50, 60 years going to be tough for democracy, particularly with the rise of authoritarian states and authoritarian leaders, whether it is the Filipino, the Junior Marcos, or in Turkey, Erdogan, and other leaders in Europe, Hungary, Poland, and other parts of the world. So how do you really build? And to me, my humble plea is that, if we could, all of us could focus on how we can bring young people into the discourse, into a public debate, and have incorporate some of the things into curricular forms, curriculum development, and build that. So we need a kind of a literacy, not just the digital or media literacy that I promote through UNESCO and other networks here, but we need a democratic literacy, a literacy where we need to listen to voices, listen to different perspectives, and that is where are we listening? Are we listening to people? Are we just outlining or talking about opinions? Opinions is one thing, but if you read, I was reading the Hindu newspaper in India, very diligently. I used to read as a kid, but now I have seen that Hindu newspaper itself has transformed into something else. There are some good, op-ed columns in here and there, but it is actually taken over by private universities and professors and scholars, so-called academics from private universities, which you can read that, because as a media scholar, as a communication scholar, I can figure that out, that there is something going on which is not really appropriate. So Hindu has changed. The newspaper that was one of the freedom movement, one of the pillars of the freedom movement, which has begun with the print journalism in India. So my last few points here would be that social media, we might be a little careful about it because it's neither social nor media, but we need to really articulate a space. We need a public space where we can debate and discuss democracy. And as the UN, the Secretary General Antonio Guterres has rightly pointed out, that is the attack on the freedom of the press, because in US, free speech is connected with press freedom. And as I speak today, I would like to acknowledge this, that in about an hour's time, I will be going to my university to teach. And today and tomorrow is the Constitution Day. The Constitution Day would be that the Constitution of United States was formed in this particular week of September. 17 September would be the day. So we would be, reiterating that the free speech, the right to liberty, free speech, and religious tolerance, all of those are built into that. So it's a remarkable thing that the Constitution of the United States, despite the recent encroachments and despite the recent assaults on it, is still a vibrant document. And today we will talk to the students about it and try to build something out of it. Free speech and press freedom. Press would be now media systems, digital media systems. So with that, I would like to just, conclude, and I would like to thank everybody here for the opportunity to speak. And, I would be happy to, listen to your dialogues and would like to be a part of the discourse here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Sanjay. Yeah, the burning question is, are we listening? Really, you see, people do not allow others to speak. Polonius' advice, it recalls, my childhood. It's really, how do we make others to listen, actually? We have a lot of cultural, taboos. Even in the United Nations headquarters, I witnessed people from Africa, people from Latin America, they hesitate to speak. Indians, I do not know, they have some kind of a blessing. So, they manage to talk anything else except the core issue. That is the problem. So they are managing it. Yes, we need to create a public space for democratic voices. Last, I think when we started this 2 years back on the same day, we could run the show for 8.5 hours, connecting 4 continents at different timings. So it's really challenging, You need to have patience for preparation, patience to organize. Yes, this is a wonderful, once again, you reminded us, we need to think of it. And most challenging thing is, the youth is drifting away. I do not know from where. We cannot be judgmental also. Okay? So, but nevertheless, how do we give them an opportunity to listen us? And we should also have the patience to listen to them. That is really a challenge in these days. So, wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll get back and if possible, please, stay for another 15 minutes. And I request, thank you once again. I request Dr. Shiv Prasad, please play the audio message, shared by Porus Dadabhai, Citizen Advocacy Center, and the founder, chairman, and still is alive. And he's a Professor Purushottam Reddy admires him. His full name is Anna. Citizens Advocacy Center. Please unmute your mic. The former presidential, candidate.
Yeah, his full name is Porus Dadabhai.
No, not the Porus Dadabhai, the chairman of the organization.
Hey, mana.
Nadar.
Ralph Nadar.
Ralph
Nadar. Sanjay knows very well.
So
Ralph Nadar is close. He works with Ralph Nadar. Porus Dadabhai is a great intellectual, Chicago-based, and a Democrat to the core.
Just trying to play, sir.
if there is any technical hitch, we can share the audio cassette, audio message to Professor Sanjay because he has to rush to the class. We can understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just trying
We will
to.
certainly share the audio message with you, and we will again try in this episode.
Thank you for
to
inviting
play the
me to
message.
speak
1 second, sir.
on strengthening of democracy. We can strengthen democracy by being an intelligent electoral to vote for the right candidate. Unfortunately, democracy is hijacked in India by rich people whose families have made money by corruption and nepotism. Example, Gandhis, Biju Patnaik, Naidus, Malayalam Singh, Lalu Prasad, Yadavs, Scindia, Power, Badal are all examples. Also, democracy has been hijacked in India by criminals and mafia. For example, 150 members of parliament have allegations of murder and
Kindly
kidnapping.
mute yourself, sir.
Next, most liquor businesses are controlled by political leaders in India.
Mute yourself, sir. Cross talk.
And D, criminalization of politics in India is a major problem, as one needs 1 million rupees for panchayat to run, 20 crores for an MLA, and 50 crores to be a member of the parliament. Also, the recent inclination to Hindutva and majoritism does not help to strengthen democracy. To strengthen democracy, the country needs to correct A through E listed above. That is, prosecute corruption and not vote for family dynasties. No person with felonies, criminals, mafia should be permitted to run for election by the Election Commission. Liquor permits and businesses should be by lottery, and politicians should not be permitted in it. There should be a cap on individual donations of rupees 2,500 per person. So no corporate donations permitted, no election bonds. Essentially, campaign finance reform is badly needed to strengthen democracy, so it doesn't become a money game. India should be multi-religious, secular, pluralistic, multicultural as per its constitution. How does India get there? India needs to strengthen its 8 institutions. That is, form and join organizations, freedom of expression, right to vote, eligibility for public office, right for political leaders to compete equally, alternative sources of information, free and fair elections, and right to participate and compete equally. It needs to strengthen its freedoms doubly, especially in the area of civil liberties, which it is badly lacking. What are some of the civil liberties that need to be strengthened? Freedom of expression and belief, independent media, freedom of religion, academic freedom, individual freedom, freedom of assembly, freedom of human rights, rule of law, independent judiciary, and due process in civil and criminal cases. However, I want to end this talk on a positive note. India has done well in 75 years, conquering hunger, poverty, and literacy. Thank you for giving me the time.
Should I play it? Should I play it again? Should I play it again, or is it clear?
No. Is it clear? I think, what, Sanjay?
It's clear, very clear.
Very clear, and we can share the message, audio message to not only to the today's panel members, but also to the other concerned citizens across the country and across the world. Okay. So that was what his feeling is. He's almost is senior most among ourselves. He's around 84, and he had very long innings with the Citizen Advocacy Center in Chicago, associating himself with Ralph Nader. And we got in contact with him 2 years back when we were, when we initiated this first international conference. And because of various changes, the members from Africa could not participate. But nevertheless, we continue to do this. And now I request Professor Purushottam Reddy Garu to deliver the talk.
At the outset, I am extremely grateful to Professor Sanjay Asthana for sparing his very valuable time in the morning. Sanjay, you are free because you have work to do. You are free to leave. And on behalf of Hyderabad Democracy Forum, we will always be in touch, and we are indebted to you. Because work is worship, so please carry on.
I'll leave in a little bit, and I'll listen to you, but I'll 15 minutes low. Thank you.
Okay. I will. My job is very simple because actually, one, you have covered most of the points which I would have mentioned. Almost everything, particularly when it comes to corporatization. Then Poras Dadabhai made it very easy and comfortable for me because he has pinpointed and he did a great surgery on democracy and exposed. Coming to the subject or the purpose of the audience, I thought of focusing on threats to democracy. What are the dangers? And as all of us are aware of the wonderful journey of the subject of democracy over 2,500 years. The journey started in India in so many republics, republics, because those days every small town was a republic by itself, except for those areas, here and there, the kings would destroy the Janapadas and conquer them out of their ego, and that's very unfortunate. But then, in addition to India, the idea of democracy is normally traced to Athens. So without going to the journey too long back, I wish to come to the 19th century and the 20th century particularly. 20th century witnessed the rise of ideologies. Actually, the concept of ideology is always wonderful because ideology is nothing but a beautiful dream of ideals. But when taken to the logical extremities, it has resulted in a lot of tyranny. Unfortunately, those beautiful dreams have been shattered, and what we witnessed is a Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin, and millions of people have been butchered at the altar of their own egos. That is how we witnessed the First World War, Second World War, Pearl Harbor, and the bombing of nuclear bombs in Japan. Even America, though it is a democracy, it can't justify its action about dropping of nuclear bombs. Well, that is a long story. Now coming to the period after the Second World War. Here, fortunately for humanity, we witness the birth of United Nations, and there may be a lot of deficiencies, there are a lot of difficulties, but I am a big fan of UN. They did a great job. At least they could prevent a third world war. So far they could prevent another nuclear bomb, dropping of another bomb. So from that point of view, from a positive angle, definitely UN did a great job. Then UN became the talking focal point of global issues, because democracy basically means discussion. So we have an area, a place where the global leaders can come, from leaders from even the smallest of the small countries, they can come and discuss and make their point. And nothing prevents them from working out a consensus in their favor at the UN. It is a different thing that the superpowers, they continue to control and they enjoy veto power, which again, that brings us to the question of lot of reforms in the UN itself. We have been, most of us have been demanding, and I hope in the days to come, will become a much better tool for protecting democracy. Now, coming to countries like India, Sanjay, you'll be very happy to note that we are organizing the Grama Sabha. I told you, Grama Sabha. And this Grama Sabha, the first Grama Sabha that we intend to organize, actually it is the village Gram Panchayat they'll be organizing. But about 15-20 of us, we are likely to be witness and we can participate, we can discuss. Because the Gram Panchayat has the right to invite anybody. And they have invited us 2nd October, if everything goes well. I think it can be described as the beginning of another total revolution like what Jayaprakash Narayan conceived, because a lot of issues will be discussed on that particular day. So once again, society is my lab approach is going to take shape, and that is. I was discussing with my friends in the morning. And where does the fault lie? We normally tend to blame the leaders, dynasties, corporates, and, all the powerful and the mighty and the corrupt. And the other way, rightly pointed out, they are there in the parliament itself. And members of parliament, instead of representing the people, they are there representing corporate interests. You can see them lobbying, and from ministry to ministry, they move about every day, trying to, they work as if they are the slaves of the corporates. So without criticizing them, I feel that Indian universities and the colleges, as you rightly pointed out, they should become cradles of democracy, where democratic values, participation, and there should be elections in the colleges. I don't understand why 95% of the universities in India, we don't have elections. Elections facilitate dialogue at the college level, pre-election speeches, and then there will be discussions on rights and duties, responsibilities. So that's how leadership grows. But unfortunately, the present political parties, they are afraid of the universities. And that is why they deprive the students of any democratic interaction in the colleges or the universities. Elections are completely banned. And they think this way they can nip the emerging, what we call buds of revolution. I wish to add to this concludingly, because we can't go on like this. In the education syllabus, the national goals of every country should be incorporated. Like in America is a democracy, constitutionalism, freedom of speech and expression. It's a wonderful land, a haven for liberals, and that's nice. Coming to countries like India, we too have a constitution which has been functional right from 1950 onwards, very well drafted, and over a period of time, it has been changing to reflect the changing times. So that's why more than 100 times it has been amended. It was needed, and many more amendments ought to be there. But over a period of time, we notice that India, for example, when Mrs. Gandhi was there, it slipped into dictatorship. And now again, we can notice that India is slipping into authoritarian regime, as you rightly pointed out. So this has to be stopped. Then how do we do it? Unfortunately, the media in this country is not all that free. The mainstream media, as already pointed out, is in the grip of the corporates. And myself and my friend Subbarao Garu, we are a witness how certain channels which were earlier known for voicing people's concerns, today they have become the protectors and defenders of the chief ministers. And we also see that particularly at the state government level, governments are controlled by dynasties, and every day their major concern is to how to protect their dynasty and how to ensure that succession takes place within the family. That is, the father or the mother will try to give power to her family members only and not to anybody else. So like this, there are a lot of threats, but I strongly believe that unless the people become citizens, there is a difference between people and citizens. Citizens are those who are vigilant. Eternal vigilance is the price they need to pay in a democracy. At the same time, they need to understand their role, because in a democracy, there is no place for a spectator. Democracy is a game where everyone has to play. So with these few words, I thank my friend Subbarao Garu and Shiva Prasad Reddy for the wonderful opportunity. I'm really grateful to Murli Krishna for having joined from Boston. And let us all continue to ponder and think, because we also have a role to play. We need to leave a better world for the generations to come, and it has to be democratic. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Namaste. Thank you so much. Yeah, one thing I would like to propose, we started this exercise 2 years back, and we were getting a lot of, suggestions and ideas from different parts of the world, including we had one participant from Korea, actually. So the time gap and all, I humbly request the panel members to think and share on certain mechanisms, strategic mechanisms. How do we reach out to the educational institutions, and what kind of a framework we need to design? Okay, this is the foremost thing, and if we have some time, we can discuss on it, or else, you people can share it later. And the second thing is, whether it is good or bad, today the online access became easier, and probably it cannot, it cannot replace the personal contact and visits, talking to the people at personal level. That is, certainly this cannot replace it. But nevertheless, it can give an access to far off distant places to reach out, motivate and inspire. And then we may work out on the personal, how do we build the personal contacts and that. So we need to work out on a hybrid mode, and not that, myself, most all the three, including Poras Dadabai, we were more into the physical world. And we are learning the online things, thanks to COVID. And we are trying to understand the hybrid mode also, which also gives a lot of, conducting the things in a very cost-effective manner. Okay, we need to look at it. One point today I feel missed is, you see, to bring out an issue to the notice of Parliament and to the higher ups, the Jalasadhana Samiti in Nalgonda district has filed 500 nominations in the elections. The elections were postponed because the ballot paper size was almost as big as Hindu paper. That happened during the sessions period, and it created a big dent in the system. But unfortunately, what happened in this country, particularly, whatever we are talking today, equalities, opportunities, and all, if not on the caste basis or the religious basis, today we are creating discriminations on economic basis. I cannot have, a good education. I have been given that kind of an impression that I cannot have good education for my children unless I spend 6 lakhs per annum. And how do we ensure a better education for all? Same is the situation for health. We are losing confidence on the public institutions. We do not want to send them to the government schools. We do not want to send them to government universities. Okay? And government does not want to function, outsource everything, if possible, including the assembly and the parliament. Then what is that? We are a third party quality monitoring. So look at the quality of the construction of the project, construction of the roads, infrastructure. Where are we? Are we not losing some kind of a sense of responsibility? This is really a challenging thing. Then how do we understand the stakes of the stakeholders in a democracy? If we want to bring all sections of the people on one single platform to debate, the moderator has to understand the stakes of the stakeholders. सबके साथ चलना है, सबको लेकर चलना है. It is very important. But at the same time, the core dynamics of सबको लेकर चलना है is really, it's not everybody's cup of tea. That's where we look for leadership. We look for the people who motivate, to bring people together. Some kind of a sense of belongingness. How do we inculcate a sense of belongingness? We all belong to this. We need to create a structure and a sense of responsibility. There is no sense of responsibility. 1,40,000 crores has gone into Godavari waters. There is no accountability. Then where is the sense of responsibility and accountability in the system? No leader is a messiah. We are all human beings. We have to function under the rules of the book, nothing else. And we should also understand the very spirit of freedom and democracy. Democracy doesn't mean that you have all kinds of crazy freedom to, humiliate, physically torture your neighbor and plunder the public properties. The country is losing, India is known for logic. Reasoning, argument on the reasoning, and spirit of questioning. Without a question, you cannot get a good answer. You see, more than a good answer, you need a precise question. Today in the media, more than the panel members, the anchor will speak for 25 minutes and he gives time for 5 minutes. We are not trained professionals in this country now. We need to look into it. We should seriously think, how do we reach out to the younger minds, catch them at end, build this spirit that's most challenging. So I feel, we need to, apart from conducting the debate and, understanding each other's, updating ourselves, but at the same time, My humble suggestion is we need to develop and design some kind of a strategic approach in strengthening the democracy right from the grassroots level and ensure an efficient functioning of three-tier governance in this country and make it a role model for several other countries who are looking for an healthy democracy. Thank you so much, and this is what I have in my mind. And I request Dr. Shiv Prasad Reddy to share his views and particularly on the strategic approaches and how we build online programs on this. So thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm happy and I'm elated that with my guru's idea and your active pursuance or perseverance, I should say, Subbarao garu, we are here today celebrating on dot the International Day for Democracy. And in spite of so many fundamental logistics, still we are trying to debate. That is the beauty of this democracy. All D's. You discuss, you debate, you differ, and then you decide. That is what democracy is all about. And I'm thankful to you all for giving me an opportunity to host such a wonderful discussion on DRTSPR channels. I would say this post-COVID era, or else from COVID era 2020, now till this day, we have seen the democracy is being hijacked by these authoritarian rulers in the name of political party, people participatory democracies. India is a big example. Canada, because we are all Commonwealth countries. Canada is a very big example as to how Justin Trudeau doesn't provide any information. They want to curb. Why? The lack of information to the people, creating a chaotic situation. That means always they are fearful. Why? The entire media is controlled by these corporate driven political parties, elected representatives who are trying to suppress the basic concept of democracy, proper or correct information. In doing so, they are creating a sort of confusion when it comes to health, such a big aspect, because health is wealth for any country. When health is at stake, when an individual citizen is suffering, he is got into that fear psyche by all these politicians controlled media world over, landing them into such a situation wherein out of that fear they were literally either going for government forced initiated mandates, or else the other side they have to come on the roads and protest. And you have seen how these protests have been curbed. So I would rate this COVID era from 2020 till now an era wherein the democracy is at stake. The true forms of democracy wherein people can freely participate to discuss, debate and decide has been harmed to the hilt. I've shown you as example as health. When health cannot be properly enforced, the common citizens are not allowed to take a decision on their health aspects. Now you imagine the state of affairs which are going to be in the entire world from here on. How this gentleman who doesn't have any knowledge of that particular subject called health, they come onto the channel and they are announcing. Where is the discussion? Are they discussing at panchayat level to create awareness? At municipalities, municipal corporations, any discussion on the floor of assembly, or for that matter in the parliament? All of a sudden one night they come through their controlled media, they announce, they say this is what is going to happen and you follow. What is this? Just because people are not being allowed to proper or correct information. That is where, thanks to you, DRTSPR channels have taken birth. Now it is 2.5 years. We are trying to provide the correct information so that people can discuss, differ, and decide for these democracies to survive. And what a better way! We are connecting the entire world. Entire world, we are able to connect from US, from different parts of India. We are able to connect so that people can speak. Only that way, these elected representatives will understand what the issues or problems people are facing, so that they can discuss on the floor of assemblies or parliaments to make law in the better interest of the people or citizens. Otherwise, why are we electing them? It is a people participatory constitutional democracy. Then why are we electing them? Only to see to that the issues, the problems confronting the country or the states are debated and a proper solution is found, or else they can employ remedial measures so that people can come out of it. And that is what the democracy is all about. But I am very sorry to say, post-COVID, all these corporates, whether it is pharmacy or insurance mafia, or for that matter, you have seen in India, when the entire country is suffering, two people become neo-rich. Can you imagine happening anywhere? In the entire world, it is the same. Only 2 or 3% of the entire world, they are becoming rich. How can this be? How can this be? When you say equal opportunities, Article 31, equal distribution of wealth, because natural resources belong to everyone, every citizen, and judicious use of natural resources from ground to the sky should be made available to every citizen. And in that interest, the country should, the administration of the country or the political elite should work. But the disparities, as you rightly pointed out, the economical disparities have become so large that they are being controlled by this political or funded by this corporate mafia. Even the political, the spending on each election during the COVID-19, the election commission has allowed to increase the spending for assemblies. How can you look into this? When people do not have food to eat, here the Election Commission of India liberally allows the ceiling limit to be spent for each assembly. That means they are taking away this entire electoral process away from the common man, so that no middle class citizen or those aspiring to contest the elections, as been pointed out by Murli Garu, Surya Narayan Reddy Garu, can ever even imagine that they are going to be in the fray. At least to say this is a democratic process wherein we are trying to voice our concern. The same thing we have seen in Nizamabad, when the rulers were not listening. When MP CM's daughter was there, Kavita, entire farmers filed for parliament seat. That is how they could defeat her. Now the same thing is going to witness in Munugodu also. All VRS, those who are agitating, who are literally on the roads, now they wanted to file nominations to see that their issue is highlighted. Why? There is no one to listen to them. Neither media is trying to highlight so that it has taken to a logical conclusion, nor there is a debate on the floor of the assembly, nor our parliament, nor panchayats or municipalities. That is the reason why people are in an agitating mode. And this is, maybe we say it's a part of revolution, but this is not good for the survival of democracy. So in a nutshell, on this important day, I wanted to show you the statistics, if you all permit. I just received I have shared it with Subbarao Garu. Telangana, how they have stopped spending on education. From 11%, they have come down to 5% on education. That means they are sure that they do not want the young or the youth, the children to be properly educated. There is lot of discrimination, so that they are driven into absolute poverty, and they will not have any time to question these authorities or politicians, so that the family, the dynasties will rule, and the political parties who have these funding by corporates can really influence the democratic process, and this is not going to augur well for anyone. Thank you very much, sir.
Good. Thank you.
Right, sir. We will be repeating this on DRTSPR channels again. So this is Hyderabad Democracy Forum's presentation. Yes, Subbarao garu, kindly conclude.
Murali Krishna garu, anything you would like to add? Please unmute your mic.
Oh, okay, sir. A lot of we have all
You
discussed.
started with a very good, when you made the PowerPoint presentation, that actually inspired me to develop. I was thinking on that that gives me an idea, and I promise that I'm going to come a training manual for school and college children within 2 months on democracy.
Wonderful.
Wonderful, sir.
Great, sir.
That's the need of the hour.
We need to. Yeah.
Sir, now, sir, you carry on, sir.
లేదు నేను మిమ్మల్ని మాట్లాడమన్నా నేను మళ్ళీ మాట్లాడతాను చెప్పండి.
Sir, the media has been discredited. All the TV channels are discredited. People are watching YouTube more than the TV channels. I can tell you because I am making videos, and those videos are not popular videos. I tell the way things are, and I really only tell with only a citation. Without a citation, I never make any video. They're being watched. A minimum of 100 views are coming for my videos. That means if people like Purushottam Reddy, Subbarao or Prasad Reddy garu, if you make videos, I am sure there will be thousands of views. So let us raise our voice. We don't have to depend on news media. We don't have to depend on press or channels. We have YouTube, we have Facebook. Facebook has become so popular and it is watched by so many people. The movies made with big names, with big budgets like Lal Singh Chadda, Raksha Bandhan, now Brahmastra, they all went to dust just because of campaign on Facebook.
Yeah.
I also participated in that campaign, boycott campaign, and it really worked. It is working. So why should we depend on the news media and the channels? We don't have to see them, though people are not watching the political discussions. They're fed up and vexed with that. They're looking for real content, and they will see. Let us make videos on this democracy, on how to vote, and let us put it on YouTube, and people will see. The election is coming. Prasad Reddy garu, I have got good personality. We have photogenic face. If you make a good video on how to vote in Munugodu, I'm sure they will see. Prasad Reddy garu, Subbarao garu, you are influential. You may not know, but there are many followers for you, many admirers for you. I'm one of them. So if you make videos and post on Facebook, start a group. Munugodu election group, Telangana development group, or democracy, strengthening democracy group. I'm seeing so many silly groups with thousands and thousands of followers. We can raise. We have the power now. We have the power. The power has to come to people in social media, Facebook and then YouTube. These two are wonderful. TikTok is taken away. Otherwise, it is another powerful form. I just put one video on TikTok and it had 100 views in 2 days. So I'm sure we can do this, and we have to do this. The onus is on us. You are the intellectuals of the society. You are not ordinary citizens. You are PhDs. You are leaders. You are intellectual leaders, and the society depends on you. We cannot depend on these uneducated politicians. So there is possibility for us to act, and let us act. And I really appreciate all the three of you dedicatedly doing this celebration every year. This is third time I am participating. So I really thank you and wish you all the best. And I will do what best you want. Assign me. I'm not a leader like Purushottam Reddy or Subbarao or Sivaprasad Reddy. I'm a follower. I'm a good worker. I'm a party worker. You assign me things, I can do it.
Thank you so much, sir.
You are the leader.
Thank
So
you.
we look forward to you to get rid of this dirt in the country, or at least in Telangana and Hyderabad.
At least to begin
This is
with
going
Hyderabad
live.
and Telangana.
For information, Murliji, this is going live on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously with whatever limited resources I have.
Yes, sir. I have seen.
It is going live. It is reaching
live.
different parts of the world.
Yeah.
It is
I
going
know.
live.
I looked at YouTube, sir. I looked at YouTube, how many people are watching. So Facebook, I have not looked. Facebook,
The only
I have
thing
not
is,
seen,
Murliji,
but,
this channel is always hacked. So don't go by the viewers or subscribers, because that is always debatable. But the how far, as you rightly said, how far it is reaching, that is more important. We could lead the way. We could change the contour, or we say the subjects being discussed in the entire pop media in India last 2 years, thanks to our gurus. That is how we have brought them to discuss basic issues, core issues. And by how? By showing evidences. That is what we have been doing. Now they are trying to follow, but the end, they are controlled by their own political gurus and sponsored corporates. So they try to conclude it in a different way. So people like you, we request you to be more regular, and Munugodu also, you come prepared as to how we can directly address people there on the core issues. I would welcome you, and I want you to be a very, very regular one. The way you have made your PowerPoint presentation, believe me, any commoner can understand. And before you say, because you raised a question, what is republic and democracy, I leave it to my gurus. In one line, if they can answer this, that will be better for me to conclude this program. Republic or democracy?
Sir, I would like to show you some pictures I avoided in the beginning. If you are
I'll make you
ready to say, I
presenter.
would like to show you some pictures.
I'll make you presenter, sir. Welcome.
Okay, sir. Okay.
That is what this channel needs, sir. More of such stuff. PowerPoint presentation, videos, so that people can understand and people can always relate. Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to share the screen.
Yeah, please.
Of course, these two pictures I showed last year. The left side is King John of England, and the right side is the original of the Magna Carta. These two pictures, can you identify them, sir?
Looks to be very familiar, the first one, but still I'm not able to.
Yes, sir. Sir, I'll not keep you under suspense. The left side one is Lord Clement Attlee, who gave freedom to India.
Okay.
And if you go to the British Parliamentary Library and look at the India Freedom Act and the debate, you will appreciate the thing that Lord Clement Attlee has done. But for him, the bill would not have passed in the Parliament. He steered the discussion. He answered every question, and why freedom should be given, because all the others have vested interest in not giving freedom to India. But he has got the bill passed. He introduced in February and got it passed in March.
Wonderful.
And we got independence in August. Just think why it took 6 months. And then the right side is Harry Truman, Harold Truman of America. He is the one who forced England to relinquish colonies. He forced Churchill, and then he forced Clement Attlee, saying that, you want freedom and liberty to your country, but you are oppressing other countries. Give freedom to the colonies. And because of Harry Truman, we got independence. Because of Harry Truman's pressure, Clement Attlee put pressure on the Parliament and got the bill passed. Indians, we can never forget these two people. And this is the announcement of Lord Clement Attlee in the Parliament. What is the India Freedom Act and all that? It is available on Wikipedia, right? Can you identify these three people? We cannot forget these three people. Their contribution to Indian independence is immense. If we are independent, it's because of these three people. Okay, I will not put you in suspense. The left-hand side one with all the decorations is King George VI of England. He signed the Freedom of India Act bill into act and granted independence to India. His signature gave us the independence. And in the middle is Lord Louis Mountbatten. He was the last viceroy of the empire and first governor general of India. You know, while the bill was passed in March of 1947, we could not get freedom until August. Why? Because Gandhi, Nehru tried their best, Jinnah tried their best not to get independence for India. All three are against it. Only recently did we come to know that Jinnah and Nehru are brothers of the same, born of the same father, but of different mothers. Gandhi and Nehru put Jinnah forward to prevent the granting of independence to India, and Louis Mountbatten was sent. Lord Wavell has lifted his hands. You want to give independence to India where the leaders do not want to take it. What do I do? Then Clement Attlee called him back and sent Louis Mountbatten. Louis Mountbatten is the elder brother of Prince Philip, husband of late Queen Elizabeth. So such a high-ranking person he sent. He came here and he saw that this internal squabble and that they don't want to give independence. On coming to India, at the Great War of India, he declared, I have come here to hand over power. He did not say anything else. That was his first word. I come, and he is not able to hand over. And then he has used his wife, the right side most is Edwina Mountbatten. And Edwina Mountbatten has weaned Nehru away from the Jinnah Gandhi and forced the Nehru to make them force and get into the partition and get the independence. We cannot forget the contribution of any three. If we are to be independent in India, it's because of these five people. And look at these two pictures. You can easily identify this man. On the right-hand side picture is very familiar because at every Independence Day and Republic Day, we put that picture. But how did he really look? Look at that left side picture. That was the real Gandhi. And this is the made up, photoshopped, whatever the artist is. This is the picture. We were being told lies by the government. We were told lies by the people in power, people in the in power, whatever. We have been lied to. The real facts have never been brought out. We were only told Gandhi, Nehru gave the independence, whereas here are the facts. You don't have to believe me. Just go to internet, go to Wikipedia, go to British Parliament archives. You can see all this. These are all now public. So I just wanted to show these pictures to you.
But Murliji,
you are not able to.
But Murliji,
can ordinary people know and identify? Yes,
but
sir.
Attenborough, the Britisher made Gandhi film that has become very popular. Then how do you relate that?
The script was approved by Indira Gandhi. The script he made and the script finally approved are totally different. Richard Attenborough tried to make some different film, and Indira Gandhi and their Congress candidates made that changes the script, and they finally brought it out. And of course, there is a commercial angle in cinema. They want it to be a success so that they can make money also.
It's
And
interesting.
they selected a very handsome actor, Ben Kingsley, to play Gandhi.
Yeah, that's what, when Britishers were coming forward, do you think without understanding the history, you think they have done that? And not only that, what then if you think there is something else, it's a concocted version, then what is the
They
original
did not
version?
make
Original
a
version can be
movie
out
on
now.
Indian independence, sir. No, they did not make a movie on Indian independence. They made a movie on the person Gandhi. There they did not show that Gandhi has given the independence. They only showed his life. And that too a specific portion of life. Not completely. We are given view, just a view into his life. Now only Gandhi. It's not independence history.
Right. Okay, it's part and parcel of the independence movement also they have shown. It's okay. Well, it's all debatable. Everyone has a right to. That is what democracy is all about. That's what we say. This is the beauty of democracy. We discuss, we debate, we differ, but still we decide so that the democracy survives. Because it is all information, as you rightly said, the proper information, the correct information should reach the people. And what a better platform than DRTSPR channels. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yes, Subbarao-ji, I want you to conclude.
Sure, sir.
Thank you, Murali Krishna Garu. The crux of the problem is most of the Indian history is written by the Westerners. So we do not have, today is 15th of September and day after tomorrow is the Liberation Day of Telangana.
Yeah.
At the ground level, lot of politics happening as if no people's movement and resistance was there prior to release of Telangana getting into India. As far as my knowledge is concerned, and the other version, political thing, that only it is the Indian army which came and liberated India. That is also an argument going on last several months. And we are going to witness the tussle between these two schools of thought in Hyderabad.
Razakars, that is what
People's movement.
yeah, people, right, sir. Chappan. Go ahead, sir.
People's movement during the Nizam period,
Right.
Razakar movement, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's, initiative in making Akhand Bharat. Yes.
That's what we are discussing,
But
sir,
the
on
issue
Saturday.
is-
Saturday 8 p.m. we are discussing Vimochana or Vilinam. Vimochana or Vilinam. We are discussing it on Saturday 8 p.m. sir. 17th.
Whatever it is, I'm just thinking, the most important thing is, I have not come across any books, struggles from the people in Rajasthan against Indore Rajas, Jaipur Rajas,
Yes.
Jaisalmer. They are all, big kings. But with all said and done, we have at least small books written by Dasharathy Rangachari Garu. Avuna kada?
Yes.
Yes.
So, ఏమవుతున్నది అని అంటే we are not trying to look into these things. People are being, diverted. ఈరోజు ఒక పొలిటికల్ గెయిన్స్ కోసము ఇది పీపుల్స్ మూమెంటా, ఇది విలోచన, లేకపోతే ఇంకోట అన్నది ఎక్కడ కూడా ఐ డోంట్ థింక్ Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel received so much of people's, welcome in none of these Rajwadas. But only in Telangana, Indian army was wholeheartedly welcome. Yes or no?
Yes.
Because of the people's spirit. So, in a democratic system, we need to bring out the academicians, universities have a responsibility to bring the true history before the people.
Yes.
We have become subjects to the political parties that, మనం కోతులం కాదు. వాళ్ళు చిట్స్ పెట్టిండ్రు, వీళ్ళు చిట్స్ పెట్టిండ్రు, మేము ఇది చేస్తున్నాము. Tell us the truth.
Right.
We would like it. And democracy, Indian democracy and విముక్తి ఈ రాజా రజ్వాడాస్ నుంచి చాలా జరిగినాయి. ఎందుకు జరగలేదు? ఇండిపెండెన్స్ తర్వాత కూడా జరిగినాయి. So it's very important. And at this time, I also request, all, Murli Krishna Garni, Purushottam Reddy Garni, and Sanjay, and also I requested him, and Dr. Shiv Prasad. We do not give any importance and respect to the archives. I myself facing the humiliation last 3 years. 3 months back, I applied an application to get the history of Piranginala. Today, the directress of archives refuses to take my phone call.
Shame.
Then what is that I can bring and tell to the people?
It's a shame.
Is it the freedom in a democratic country we are enjoying? I am afraid these dynasty rulers can burn and all the archive history. And they are capable of creating new histories, distorted histories. We should be very careful about democracy. Doesn't mean only voting. And people today, I think today only I saw, the mayor has been given the immune. Why? ఆమె ఏంటి కరప్షన్ చెయ్యను అని పుట్టుకుంటూనే వచ్చిందా ఆమె? వాట్ ఈస్ దట్? సైకోఫాన్సీ. ఇంత భజన పనులు మనకు అవసరం లేదు ఈ దేశంలో. మనకు కావాలి. యూనివర్సిటీలో ఉన్న ప్రొఫెసర్స్, దే ఆర్ నాట్ మోటివేటింగ్ అండ్ ఇన్స్పైరింగ్ ద స్టూడెంట్స్ టు గెట్ ది do the research on these things. So these are all, very burning issues. We need to discuss in the democracy and bring true history of the any area. Today, coming next 3 days, it may create a law and order problem also in this state on the name of ado pedda discussion. విమోచనమా, విముక్తియా, గార్దిగుడ్డ, టెంకాయలు కొట్టాలనా, అరే what we should do for this country and what we should tell the people, and then this is most important. I felt little disturbed, Purushottam Reddy garu, last 1 month nunchi the tamasha going on in Hyderabad and the political circles what they are. They are instigating the youngsters, They are not giving true information to the people. That is a very sad part of it. But at least, okay, whatever little we can do, let us do it. Try to bring truth before the people. Thank you so much, and thank you so much. Anna, meeremanna, anything concluding on? Anna, mic.
వాయిస్ అన్న, ఆడియో లేదన్న. ఆడియో రావడం లేదన్న. రైట్ 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 సార్. సో ఇది ఐ విష్ ఎవ్రీ వన్ జాయిన్స్ ఇన్ రెగ్యులర్ DRTSPR live programs. Murli garu, you are most welcome. Saturday also you can join. 8 p.m. we are going live again.
Send me the link, sir. I will join.
Yeah.
Send
Just
me
share
the
me
link
your
and
number.
I will
I'll collect your number from
Absolutely.
Subbarao garu, and you are most welcome to join.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Right,
Sure,
sir.
sir. Sure,
Thank
sure,
you.
definitely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Right.
great day, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us celebrate democracy.
Thank you.